I want to build a web-based CSV uploader. We'll probably use bold.AI to actually do the initial coding for us using, I don't know, Next.js, Tailwind CSS, and open source packages.
Well, excited to have this conversation and do a vibe coding case with you. How does that sound?
Yeah, sounds good, man.
Awesome. Well, in typical sort of case frameworks, I'd be curious, like, can you tell me about a product and a problem space product or something of that order that you're passionate about that you'd be interested in exploring in this case?
Yeah, so I always care about, user experience. And one of the most, I think, just annoying user experiences is when you are trying to get data into a new application, especially when you're onboarding and you're trying to just get that application to start working and you have to put data in. Um, and so um, one of the things that I see a lot is just like even just as easy as like a CSV uploader, right? Many apps will they'll say, here's your template. You have to download our template. You got to move all your data into that. And then so you're spending all this time just to like get your data ready just so you can upload to their system. And so I thought maybe we could do something with that.
Cool. Can you tell me, I like the idea. It feels kind of broad. Can you tell me how you might who is the scoping of it? Users? Is there a particular domain you're thinking about? Is it just data sort of users in general?
Well, yeah. So think about I've worked in MarTech, right? And marketing users, they're not usually super technical. They often are having to deal with spreadsheets. They don't want to necessarily have to deal with data types and having to figure all of that out, importing and exporting. They do a lot of it, but they're more worried about getting the data into the system so that they can go do their job, right? And so if we can make the technical part of the import and the export a lot easier so that they can just bring the data as they have it, and then the system can make it easier for them, that's the thing I'm thinking about.
Fascinating. And I guess just to double click a little more, any thoughts on the segmentation of this? Is this for marketers in general? Is it like a marketer who doesn't have an analyst? Any sort of thinking about that, like who you think your audience is and how many users there might be there?
Yeah, so let's go with I used to work at an email company, right? And so let's just think about we can just go easy on this one, and it's an email list with some basic persona data, right? So they're going to upload an email list for a segment of their users that they want to, send out an email campaign to. And so we can do something easy with that.
Cool. And what do they currently do? I know I think you painted a picture. It hurts today. Like, what do they
Yeah.
currently do?
So a lot of them they'll have their email collection form. They'll use any number of systems for that. Sometimes it's a spreadsheet that they, collected emails at a conference, or, one of their salespeople collected it. Sometimes this goes into a HubSpot. They may or may not have that connected up to their email system. Maybe they have a web collection form that they set up, some sort of ClickFunnels thing, or some app somewhere, or something on a website. They maybe made a landing page somewhere in some other app. It's going through Zapier to a spreadsheet. Who knows? They've got all these things. They're all disconnected. They're pulling these things down, and now they have to go and put it into their email system, which could be, SendGrid, Mailchimp, again, HubSpot, could be anywhere, and they need to upload it, and now they've got to map these fields that were defined by somebody to this system that is pretty prescriptive, and they have to get it in there, and they want to go get these emails out because sometimes the timing matters, and so they don't really have all day to go and mess around with all these fields.
Well, I think we could probably move on to the next section, thinking about assumptions and constraints. Can you kind of walk me through any assumptions you might be making as you think about your approach to this?
I'm going to make the assumption that they've got the data in a spreadsheet or in a CSV file. They know how to get a CSV file out, right? Because Google Drive can do that, Excel can do that. That's pretty easy. I think I'm going to make the assumption that they're using a web browser that they can upload, and that the system that they're using can upload, and that they're technical enough to be able to handle that. And I think for the purpose of, for this use case, I think I'm going to make some assumptions that like they're not using a screen reader, that, they're able to use a mouse and a keyboard, but there are things that we could do if we wanted to build that in and make sure that, we were VPAT, WCAG compliant, all of those sorts
Oh,
of
you're
things.
getting at like accessibility?
Yeah, with some, if we wanted to, we could go there. It would take a little bit longer, but we could definitely get there.
Yeah, I'd be comfortable saying this is for the non-accessible starting point for sure.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
That's a great point. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Any thoughts on like privacy or security on your mind when you think about this?
I mean, always like in a production environment, I think for something like this, like for a shortened timeline, we would need to, we're probably going to do a proof of concept. Probably not going to actually like hook this up to a database. Probably just worry about the front end processing of the data and being able to like match fields and that sort of a thing. But if I was going to production, I would want to make sure that, we were because we were doing this in an application, they were doing this with an email app, they would already have a login. We would probably want to make sure that, when they upload the file, that we encrypted it at rest, that all the data was flying over the wire encrypted. If they were uploading, personal identifiable information, obviously we have emails, so we're going to want to make sure that, that we're encrypting that and storing it in a way that's compliant with their geographic zone. If we're working with customers that are in California, Australia, Canada, Europe, all the places that have compliance zones, that we're covering that, and making sure that their account is set up for the right zone for storage and for, for over the wire flight. All of those things are really important, but that's going to be more in a production environment than
Yeah.
today.
Then I'm curious, like thinking about constraints, like you mentioned, I've lived in like no code ecosystems with Zapier and stuff like that. Are there any constraints on your mind of where you might not try to solve for things or where you might limit what you're endeavoring to do?
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. I think for right now, I mean, I'm probably not going to. Let's see, we're talking about spreadsheets, so I'm living in the world of spreadsheets, but the like you could put a whole document in a single cell. So I'm making there are some assumptions about like what you can export to a CSV. And so those assumptions are there in that like it's going to be, UTF-8 text-based content probably, and there'll probably be some, in a production environment, we're probably going to have some like text constraints for like different field storage and things like that. And we probably want to put those constraints on the fields when we went to a production environment. For this test case, I'm probably going to stick to, smaller fields just to show what we're doing. But yeah, we would probably want to do that like if we were going to actually take this thing live.
Cool. And then before I think next we get into fleshing out requirements and your perspective on that, but I'm just curious, any risks on your mind with something like this? Anything you'd want to kind of watch out for?
Yeah, you'd want to, make sure that you're not allowing people to upload anything other than certain file extensions or, because zip bombs are always fun,
Mhm.
so that you can't upload zip files. File size constraints, so somebody's not uploading like a 2 terabyte file that has a CSV extension. Yeah, I mean there are definitely things like that with file uploads, and those are pretty standard things. Let's see, what else would we want to do? You probably don't want to allow for like you don't want to allow any path for like code execution on the file name or anything like that. So, you're going to have the normal, probably out of the box use a open source file upload, package um, that's well known, so that all of those sorts of things are already taken care of.
Cool. Sounds great up to this point. How about we jump into defining the requirements and how you might measure success?
Cool. So yeah, typically what I do at this point is, especially like with a vibe coding thing for like a proof of concept, if it's cool, share my screen, I'll show you what I do.
Please.
Yeah, so I'm going to jump in. I typically just go straight to ChatGPT, um, because I'm gonna just start just riffing with ChatGPT to sort of get my ideas out and ask it to sort of, build out a like a requirements doc for me.
Mhm.
Part of this is because, I'm we're vibe coding, so I can be a little bit lazy. I don't need to write out the whole document, but also because it's going to be a lot more efficient. And then I can start to actually ask it to, find some holes, do some research for me, that sort of thing. Makes me a lot more efficient. So from here, actually, we can actually even cheat a little bit further. Let me get Whisper Flow out, which is a pretty cool app that I have for my computer. We could use the ChatGPT one, but I like this one too. Let's see if it's working. Test, test, test. All right, perfect. Um, all right, so Whisper Flow just lets me hold a button and talk. And so I'm
Mhm.
going to do that for a second. Um, I want to build a web-based CSV uploader. We'll probably use bold.ai to actually do the initial coding for us using, I don't know, Next.js, Tailwind CSS, and open source packages. If you can help me find the open source packages for that, that would be great. What we want to do is have um, an email contact list uploader for CSV files. This will allow the user to take a or to upload a CSV file through a web UI that they have downloaded from their application. It will have various fields in it like email address, first name, last name, and then persona based fields that will match whatever it is that they are sending people emails about. Um, we'll get that going real quick, make sure that it gets that in there. Um, so now let's see. We want to make sure that we've got the email upload form, that we've got the ability to match the fields. Um, okay, so from here, what I want to do is start thinking about the sort of basic use case things here. And so the things that I really don't like about CSV uploaders is that they tend to be pretty strict where, somebody will give you um, the template and you have to match it perfectly. So what I want to do is I want to build this into the prompt where we will tell the user, we'll give them, an example CSV that they can download and they can match, but I want the uploader to actually give them a good experience.
Hmm.
And so I actually want to do some of the matching for them. Um, and so this is where things can be really interesting. So I'm going to start talking to it again and give it some more information. Um, with the uploader, one of the things that I want to do is I want to make the uploader slightly smart in that when the user uploads their CSV, I want to try to match the fields from their CSV to our CSV fields, meaning that if our field is something like email underscore address, first underscore name, last underscore name, that we try to match to the fields that the user has in their CSV. So their field might be email or F name, L name, first, last, things like that. We should try to match to those things. Then, when we show the user in the next stage, we can give them a field mapping UI where we show them the fields that we're expecting, we show the fields that they have, and we allow them to create a map from their fields to our fields, including persona-based fields where we will allow them to um, create persona-based fields that are arbitrary for our system from their CSV. This will allow them to um, insert those fields from their CSV into our system. Now, our system will be just a prototype, so we're not going to have a database on the back end. This will be in memory for this proof of concept. but we want to show them what this looks like for the proof of concept. So we need to make this work for the session of the user in this proof of concept.
Cool. Is this like the line in the sand for your proof of concept or your MVP?
Um, I think there's one more piece, which is that once it's uploaded, I do want to show them the data in the UI.
Got it.
Okay, so for the last piece, after they've mapped their fields, the last view is that we want to actually show them the data in the UI to prove that they have actually uploaded their CSV into our system. This again will be in memory and will just be part of this user session in the app.
Cool. Can you describe any, just think I use the word line in the sand, but anything you're explicitly trying not to include in this through the lens of a POC? Like what is the least you can do here? Anything that you have ideas you have that you might not be including right now?
Yeah, actually, so one of the things that I have always wanted to do in a CSV uploader, and like if we have time, it would be really cool to try to do it, is that if there are rows that fail, I would love to actually have the app capture those rows, like in a side object from the CSV, um, process all the rows that work completely independently, and then show the user a UI of the failed rows and allow them to fix them as part of the upload, because so many CSV uploads will actually do it as a transaction where it's either everything succeeds or everything fails. And I want them to be able to fix it in line as part of the upload process and then save those failed rows. I just think that would be such a cool experience. I don't know if we'll have time, but it'd be really cool to be able to do that.
Do you think this would be usable without that?
Um, I think what we need to do is uh, potentially probably what we need to do is have it do the normal thing of if the CSV is no good, fail out of the box. But in our test case CSV, we'll probably have it use a perfect CSV the first time, and so that we won't have the failure case. And then what we would do is like if we wanted to, we could probably generate a CSV that has a failure case to see what it does, and then build in failure handling. But again, we're talking about a proof of concept right now, so depends on how much time we have.
Cool. And would you include success metrics here, or are you imagining that later in the workflow?
As far as like how to handle failures or how many like emails can be uploaded
Or
or
just the
things
idea
like
of how you would know this worked, how this was a valuable thing that you made.
yeah, so right now I think like for a proof of concept, my success metric would be can I upload a CSV, get it through this process and see it in the UI? And then after that, I would start to think about scale, failure handling, and then putting it in front of real users to see are they able to use this without handholding at all? What feedback do we get? That sort of thing.
Any opinion on like you described like the pain of the status quo? Any thoughts on how you might measure this is less painful?
Yeah, absolutely. I would probably, as a product person, the thing that I love to do is actually watch people go through what they do today and actually like do a user test session with them in the way that they do it today and have them like sit there and do um, monologue as they're going through
Mhm.
and then have them use the new version and monologue as they're going through, maybe even as sometimes as one after the other and sometimes as two separate sessions with different users to see what the different monologues are, because sometimes when you have the old and the new in the same context, you get different results than when they're done in different contexts. And so it's interesting to see how people respond in those different contexts.
Cool. Do you think we're ready to? Oh, you're looks like we're ready to.
Include these requirements. Um, after you let me know what questions you have for me. So this is always a thing that I include in every time I start building requirements with ChatGPT. I ask it what questions it has for me, especially when I'm on the spot, um, because I'm gonna forget stuff. And so I want to see what it will ask me, just to see if it'll fill in some blanks. I'll answer those really quickly. It'll kick out our requirements, and then we'll go throw it in Bolt and see what happens. Let's see.
So you're typically have you tried doing this all in one, like using Bolt, for example, for requirements, or using a single, like what you would use to vibe code, you also use to build the requirements, or do you kind of always do that?
Yeah, so I would one shot with Bolt when I first started, where I would like start to chat with it. The thing that I saw with Bolt originally, now they have Claude integrated, it's a little different, but um, found with Bolt that it has a propensity for action, and so it starts building
Hmm.
before it has everything. And so then it will have to undo things. Bolt also just in general has a tendency to like build a bug in every time. And so there's a high likelihood that we'll have to have it fix something. It almost always has like a weird bug. Um, and so there's a chance that we'll have to do that. I don't know what's going on here. ChatGPT is just really slow right now. Um, but what I've seen that it can do really well, is that when I give it a really nice prompt, it takes out so much of the creativity that the model wants to take on its own, and it just gives it a punch list, and it handles that punch list really well.
Hmm.
And I find that with a lot of the models. And so ChatGPT with its chat interface, because it doesn't really keep track of tokens for you in the chat interface, I do a lot of ideation here where I'll give it just full on, conversational stuff like this, where I don't have to type and have it. Usually it responds by now. What is going on here? But yeah, I'll usually like do the ideation here and have it like beat up the idea, ask a bunch of questions. I'll answer those questions, and then I'll have it create a Canvas doc, um, that I can then just like hit a copy and paste it in a Bolt and go, because that tends to work pretty well. I've even made an MCP where I can have like Claude or Cursor take a plan that they've written and pass it over to OpenAI and have it review the plan and kick back notes, which is a lot of fun.
That sounds like a valuable case as well. That could be a cool product.
Yeah, it's nice. It usually like it gives a pretty good rating on those plans. Um, but it'll be like, hey, you didn't think around this corner, or hey, you didn't do this. And then Claude or Cursor will then go and update their plan, um, with a couple of the holes that it had. And then, I have just a little bit of a better plan because two different models have now looked at it, which is kind of nice. All right, cool. It's doing a lot. All right, so it's gone through, it's looking, yeah, it went through and looked for a bunch of packages, which is nice. It's looking at schema validation, which we want because we're asking it to do that with the CSVs. It's actually looking for CSV header libraries, and because we said it was for an email upload, it's actually building an email validation, which is interesting. Now it's planning the questions and the implementation, which is nice. Okay, canonical field, we will say, so I'll start answering the questions as it goes. For one, we'll say email address. Two, do I have something running that's making this so slow? I don't have anything running. Yeah, it's just Chrome. Turn everything off. Okay, so it's just the internet. Okay. Two, max CSV size. Let's just say 5 MB for now. Three, um, CSV only. See, so now it's asking me a lot of the questions that you asked, which is really nice. Any required validations between valid email? Let's Yeah, let's dedupe by email, trim, white space, drop empty rows. That's all nice. Fine. What's nice is that it'll be able to do this really quickly. Um, Preferred data grid vibe. Let's do batteries included just because that'll be fun. Six. Display only is fine for this POC. Okay, open source pieces. Let's go with that's fine. Below is ready to paste bolt new prompt. Um, Update the prompt and provide in a canvas for easy. Copy, paste, please. And I will go and hit the canvas button so that it does that. It'll do this quickly.
Do you ever answer those questions using Whisper still?
Um, yeah, sometimes the only thing with Whisper is like I haven't figured out how like spend enough time with it to like do the new line stuff.
Hmm.
And so sometimes I'm just faster that way. Usually I'll do Whisper for like the stream of consciousness stuff when I just don't want to write paragraphs of text.
Yep.
Or like I'm self-conscious about somebody watching me type paragraphs of text. Okay, let's see. This thing should be. So this is nice. So it's giving us all the things that we need, right? And it's going to give us. This is why I really like doing this. So it's giving us tons of things that we need, including like all of the various pieces of functionality, the sample data, um, like README file, everything, which is great. It's going to give it to us in this Canvas file, so we can even open that file just by itself. Um, it We don't really need all of this, so I can actually pull this out of the Canvas file, which is nice. And so now we don't have to like paste everything below. I can actually go and just copy this. Let's go over to Bolt. I have this ready to go. I can paste it and we can go. And so now it's just going to start building, which is great. Um, Bolt is it's gonna sit here and think about it for a second. It's gonna make a plan, which is nice. It's every agent's gonna remake the plan that we just gave it because it's gotta sit there and chew on it for a second. But luckily we've boiled that plan down. But it's basically regurgitating what we just had. Three-step wizard: upload, verify the fields, output the data, and it's going to start building. It probably already has. Yep. So it did its basic Next.js environment for us, which is great. It's already created a lot of things, and they do a lot of stuff async, which is amazing. So it's pretty quick. And, so we have a lot already going for us. And so like it's already like built out a lot of table stuff. I think they have a lot of this already built and they're just copying it into the environment so that they're actually optimizing their token usage, which is pretty cool.
Hmm.
Um, because like, why would you recreate these components every single time?
Yep.
Especially if we're just saying Tailwind CSS and Next.js, and I don't care what the colors are. Um, you know, um, and they're rebuilding the same thing 1,000 times a minute basically right now. So, which is awesome. And we're not going to have anything here yet because they're still building. But if we sit here and watch this, it'll start throwing more content in. I don't think we're going to have very many pages. But let's see what else doing. Yeah, it's sitting here doing a bunch of actions. Oh, here we go. Uh, yeah, so drop zones where we're going to put the file. It's writing a parser. So we can look at that lib parse ts. Where's that source? Oh, it's not in there yet. That's funny. So it wrote these, but it hasn't put them in here yet.
While
Well,
we
just
while we
copy.
wait while we
Yeah.
wait for it to build, like how would what's your experience or your take on this sort of prototyping POC phase into how you would actually like productionalize it? How might engineers take hold of this, for example?
Yeah. So often what I do is even, in some of the projects that I've actually taken to production, um, I will do this first. I'll actually connect it up to GitHub. So I'll actually go up here, connect it to GitHub. If I'm using a database or something like that, I might actually connect it to Supabase or something else. But then I will pull it down on my machine from GitHub, and I'll connect it to Claude or Cursor. And from there, I have rules set up, I have agents set up. That's where I'm actually going in and doing all the things that we talked about before, where I'm going through and making sure that it's secure. It passes all of my test requirements. It passes my coding requirements. Everything is well linted. It builds right. That everything's TypeScript strict. If I was actually going to do this thing for production, I would have spent a lot more time on the requirements doc. I've written 20-page requirements docs before and actually only asked Bolt to give me what is effectively a proof of concept that is just a design system and component library as a Hello World Next.js app that has my routes and components mocked up for each page, but not functional.
Hmm.
And then I put that into GitHub and pull it down, and then I actually use a hands-on IDE or CLI tool with agents where I'm going page by page and wiring it up, building out the services and doing all of that with a lot more attention to how it's being built, so that I'm making sure that it's following the rules and guidelines that I need for the environment that I'm going to.
Does it give you a sense of where it is on the journey and how far it has to go?
So right now, no. It will be pretty close because we're almost there.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's not a lot to build here. So, but it's not telling us like we're 60, 70% right now. Um, if we were in a different tool, typically it would like give you its to-do list and show you.
Yep.
Now it's just saying, look at all the stuff I did. Uh,
Wiping the sweat off its forehead.
yeah, yeah. It's like, look at the hole I built for you. Um, but we're getting pretty close. It's building the project right now, so it actually might have something for us to look at soon. Oh, just copied everything to the source directory.
And is that database icon at the top? Is that showing the data model?
So this actually would connect you to if you wanted to actually connect it to a database. So
Mm-hmm.
if you wanted to actually go to like Supabase or something like that, you could do that. You could actually connect it up to Supabase auth or clerk. You could put server functions in if you were serverless. You could do a lot of different things in here.
Is there a way for you to expose the data model with what's going on right now?
Yeah, so if it put the types over, which it hasn't done yet, I'd be able to do that.
Got it.
So that would be in the source file, the source directory, but it's not giving me that yet. There it is. Okay. So here, come on, minimize. Cool. Good job. So here we should be able to go and see components, hooks. Um, where are my types? Not sure where it's putting the types. Interesting. Maybe there. Link transfer. Looking to see where it. Not totally sure where it put the types here. Oh, here we go. Okay. So it's giving us the upload stuff, but I don't know. Let's go over and see what it gave us in the UI real quick. Um, the app is ready to use. I don't think it is here, friend. Okay, let's see. Three-step wizard, blah blah blah. So it's saying that it is Bolt pulled a fast one on us here.
I've been there.
Yeah. Oh, it actually didn't put the actual wizard component in. That's why. It gave me a my bad. Oh, because it put it in the source directory instead of moving it to the app directory. Yeah, I mean, this is one thing about using tools is that you are at the mercy of the tools. Um, and when you have somebody watching over your shoulder, you're sort of responsible for what the tool is
Oh, they'll
giving you.
act up too. I think they can perceive it. I think they know there's an audience.
Yeah,
Are you
right.
on a basic plan or is
No, this is a pro plan.
oh, okay.
Um,
Oh, Pro 50 is the next level.
yeah. So, all right, I'm going to download this CSV file. Oh, it gave me sample.html. That's neat. The sample file that downloads is sample.html, not sample.csv. So I'll have it fix that. I'm going to open that really quickly, just on my own real quick and try to fix that um, really quickly. Open that with my text edit app. I'm not going to share that. I'm just going to make a CSV file. Um, fname, name. Let's see, puppy, um, and birthday are the fields I'm going to give it. And then I will put a fake email test at example.com, Matt Bernier, Cricket, and 1900, test 2. I'm just making some garbage data here to upload. Gonna have file save as. That's the one. Sample.csv. Okay. Okay, let's see if it will let me do this. Okay, I'm gonna drag a file in. Oh, it's still editing, so let's not do it until it's done editing that. Okay, refresh it. Okay. Let's see if this will let me open this file here. Can I do that? Nope, it's not gonna let me show you the file, but I can put it in here and see.
That's like a template it's created?
So yeah, it should have created a template here
Mm-hmm.
to download sample on CSV. And then this should be a file uploader, but the drop zone is not giving me a file upload control. And it is not working for dropping a file. Um, so I do have an example file, um, but it's not working. Okay. And then here. So this is a CSV file. It's a little bit small.
Hmm.
I just did test example with the headers so that you can see that. That's the one that I built. So now I'm waiting for this to restart. As soon as I do that, we should be able to upload and test it out. One thing that I do like about like vibe coding too is like if you've never used some of these components, right? Um, the agents can get the docs and figure out how to use the components and put it together, and then you get to learn how they work. And so what's really cool is like it goes right here. It says I had to make sure it's rendering correctly, and then let me look and make sure that it needs proper event handling, verify the imports, and so you can go and like see, all the different components of this. And so for someone who like had to go and figure out how all this stuff works as a developer, like I know how all that stuff works, but for someone who's learning how to code, being able to have like an agent build the code and then going into the code and seeing, excuse me, what it built and then translating that, I think would be so valuable. I kind of wish I had that when I was, learning how to develop.
Yeah. Are you ever also like feeding it GitHub repositories you found like, hey, this does a cool thing. Can you put that into this app?
Oh, absolutely. Or I'll be like, hey, I want to try to do something like this. And it's like, oh, you just need to do this, this, and this. And I'm like, cool, do it. It's like, all right, cool. And like I have an app that like I've never set up Redis before. And so I had an app where it just was like, all right, I'm going to go set up a Redis database in a container and do all of this stuff. And I was like, all right, sweet. And it just did that and it just worked. Yeah, so it is not doing this file upload at all. Let's see.
I haven't heard Redis in like 8 years. So that's like in heat, like storing
Like,
yeah,
yeah,
like
so
a
like
live cache.
a, a key value store for caching, something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, this is just not working. So okay. So what I would typically do at this point, because Bolt is not doing this right, is that I would probably, okay, let's see what's going on here. Perfect. So we found a couple of problems here in the logs. So I would either give it these logs or I would go over here and I would look at my JavaScript console and figure out what's going on. It looks like there's a couple of problems here. So I'm going to pull this up full screen and check this and try like clicking here to see if there's something going on. So we definitely have some console problems and we have some server problems. So here, and we have this. I'm going to copy this and give it that and just be like, there are some issues. Please fix these. I can't upload and I am in an interview. I would love for this to work. Please help me look good. Um, and so, like that's where I would start there. And then if Bolt can't fix this, this is typically where I would be like, all right, we're going to GitHub. I'm going to push it up there, or I would download the code and like just export it, open up Cursor, and have like start working through the issues of Cursor, like build it locally so that I can see the errors without going through the like Bolt proxy here, and start going through and actually fixing the issues. But now that it can see the errors that I gave it, instead of asking it to try to like guess at what the errors are, because I guess it wasn't looking at the server logs, hopefully it'll be able to fix this and we'll get it going.
Do you find that it'll respond to emotional appeals like, hey, please help me look good?
Sometimes it does actually, and actually, what's really fun is when you get excited with some of the agents. and you're like, F yeah, it'll actually respond in kind, it'll match your energy. It'll even match your language. And so like I usually take screenshots when I get it to curse back with me, because it's just kind of awesome. It'll
Yeah, I
throw
don't know if I want it talking like me sometimes. That's funny.
yeah, it'll give emojis, it'll do all kinds of stuff. And like, when I'm like, that was amazing. Like we just did something really cool. And it's like, yeah, check this out, right? And sometimes you can get it going really cool. I actually just showed somebody that in ChatGPT you can actually like get it to start like doing pirate talk and other things just by changing your settings, which is pretty neat. Okay, they're saying it builds successfully with no errors now. Um, it did compile, so that's good. Um, I think at this point I'm probably just gonna like force it over to GitHub and then pull it, fix it, because I'm about done with both. Let's see here. Oh, here, open a separate preview tab. There we go. Let's see if this will give me the search. Give it one more chance here, because it's just not doing what. No, that's not it. Let's stop. Okay. All right. Okay, we're gonna go brute force. Let's see. This is gonna be CSV uploader, create repository. All right. I'm gonna change my screen sharing for a second here. I call that CSV uploader. I have a sneaking suspicion that doing npm run build will tell us, I need to do npm install first, and then we'll run the build, and we'll probably find out what's wrong with it and then fix it. Also, another thing that I find with Bolt is that almost every single time there are 6 vulnerabilities in whatever libraries that they're installing. And if you fix it right away, you end up with some problems. Oh, wow. It's actually going to build this time? That's amazing. That almost never happens. Okay, fine. npm run dev. Can you see my screen okay, or is it too
Yeah,
small?
yeah, yeah. So we're in cursor now?
Yeah, I'm over in cursor so that I can actually like see things happening. Is this gonna, it actually works now. It might have just been over there. So let's get the file and let's try to upload, download, sample, go.
Nice.
It might have just been data preview, continue to mapping. It was just running on their system that it was having trouble. So email, first name, last name, add persona fields. So, um, okay, so this is where it didn't do exactly what I wanted, um, because I have to know the field that I added into my CSV. So I had a different thought in my head than what it did, where I wanted it to show me the fields from the CSV so that I could add them as persona fields.
Meaning, so just to pause, like the idea you had these additional sort of descriptors and you were hoping this would say, hey, I found these additional descriptors. Do you want me to pull them in? But instead, it's kind of making you hunt for them.
Yeah, exactly. And so what I would do like right now is, so like depending on like what time we have, like I would almost even just go to cursor and be like, hey, right now where it says add persona fields, instead of making me add them, suggest the fields that you found that aren't already mapped and allow me to add them, right? But right now, what I can do to do this birthday, add, and then map, and then let's go to review and look. And so what it does is now it has all the rows, unique emails, duplicates reviewed, invalid emails. And so what we can then do is let's get, no, this guy, new. Let's get sample CSV over here. Let's add in an extra row. Um, and then let's go back here. So it was just the fact that it was in Bolt. So that was on me being rude to Bolt, I guess.
Huh.
So project CSV uploader. Let's go sample CSV open. So see how it has duplicate rows now?
Yeah.
Let's go to continue to mapping. So we don't have those fields. So let's add puppy back in. Let's add birthday back in. Let's go to puppy. Let's go to birthday. Let's see if it actually gets rid of the duplicate fields. Duplicates removed 2.
Hmm.
Unique emails 3. Total rows 3. Invalid emails 0. And it fixed it.
Cool, man. Would you be able to demonstrate how you might on the fly iterate a solution to that problem where it didn't quite do what you were hoping?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so there's 2 things right now. Start over doesn't work. So let's. I want to fix that, and then let's also do the fix that fields thing. So back to mapping, right here for persona fields. Okay, so with this CSV uploader, there are. Here we'll do it with sheet. Uh, 2 problems I want to fix. One is that the start over button at the bottom of the last step does not actually start over. It should reset us back to the first step with no memory. The second problem is that when we go to the data review after we upload, for the persona fields, what I would really like is instead of it asking me to add fields in, I would like it to show me the fields that it found in the CSV and allow me to choose which fields to add from the CSV file rather than asking me to type fields in.
I've got this like reminder on my computer to start using Whisper. You're definitely inspiring me.
It's super cool. I got it through Lenny's podcast.
Yeah, I
If you're
just saw it there too.
Yeah, and that's actually like I got a bunch of tools like my Bolt subscription, and a bunch of other things through there. And Whisper was one of the ones that I was like, "Ooh, this is the coolest
And
thing
is
ever."
that $200 price tag for all of that? I can't remember. Something really reasonable.
Yeah,
Is
it's
that right?
200 bucks. And then they just added a new tool that I haven't had a chance to play with, that I just noticed in there yesterday or the day before.
Might try to sneak in expensing Lenny's podcast.
Yeah. It's worth it because I mean, even just like granola, which is like a note taker. You can add like your whole team to it once you have it. You can add as many people to your account as you want, and each team member that you add is like a $15 subscription, and so it is more than worth it.
Awesome.
Okay, we are almost there. So and maybe my crap talking with Bolt is just me not fully understanding how Bolt works, and so fully willing to accept that rudeness that I had there earlier. Because it might be running serverless and just doesn't want to do file uploads, or it like they've got a security thing that won't let them do file uploads, and so that's why it wasn't working.
Well, you are gracefully getting around that in a way that many others wouldn't be able to.
Well, and like how frustrating, right? That like it didn't tell me that.
Yeah.
that the only way that I figured it out was that I downloaded it to my computer and tried it. Uh, because if I was sitting there and wasn't technical and was using Bolt, and was trying to do this with Bolt only, I would have sat there for a day trying to figure that out, or would have gone to a different application or something, and then that would have been really frustrating just from a user experience standpoint. The one thing that is nice here is that you get to see the actual like file changes and things that it's doing.
And just a nerdy observation, I think someone was telling me Cursor's default LLM here is Claude. Is that right?
It is when you are not in auto mode. Um, so you can like choose your LLMs and you can like modify your models and
Hmm.
choose a bunch of different ones. But when you're in auto, which is the like this is just included whatever's included in your monthly plan. That is whatever is cheapest for them, I believe,
Yep.
at the time. And I mostly stay on auto, and I've had like 2 million lines of code months before, so um, it works pretty well. Okay, let's go and see. I can't remember. Can I drag that over now? I tried that. Okay, let's get sample.csv. Okay, continue to mapping. Perfect. So now it's actually, so now it overcorrected. See, it put all the fields in.
Yeah.
What I would do is I'd say, hey, don't add the fields that we already have. But it did do these, which is great. And it auto mapped them, which is awesome. And then we can continue to review and we're good. And then if I go start over, now that works. And so I would just go here and be like, hey, uh, this is great. But we now have all the CSV fields and only needed the net new fields that are not auto provided by the app. So email, fname, lname don't need to be included because auto mapped. Oh, you know what? Okay, I know why it did that. And so I'm gonna this would be a product decision that I would like as a developer, I would go back to the product manager and ask. As a product person, I would probably then make the decision that if it auto mapped, I would want the UI to handle this. And so check out what happened. Because it auto mapped to our actual application fields, our application fields are email, fname, lname. The CSV, or sorry, application fields are email address, first name, last name. Our CSV fields are email, fname, lname. So I bet if I change this to email address, first name, last name instead in the CSV file to match that, and I go back over here and start over, and then I re-upload this, I bet it doesn't suggest those fields. Oh, it did. Okay, so I was wrong. Um, so what I need to do is tell it if it matches to not suggest them, and then we need to figure out what it does after that. But
What do
that's what
you,
I.
well, just walk me through what would you frame to the product manager for that decision
So
point?
yeah, what I was thinking is that there's a couple of options here. We could say if they're an exact match, don't put them in here. If they're mapped, we should label them as mapped. And if they're not mapped, we should show that they're not mapped or like separate them out. And then if they get mapped, they should auto update to show that they're mapped. That way it's very clear and you don't end up with like two email address fields being put in there, right? Or two first name, last name fields, because that could actually end up causing problems inside of your application. And so we should add little UI things here, but I think that would be a product decision to make that clear.
Got it.
Yep.
How do you feel about where it's at right now?
I think for a POC and then identifying the little tiny things like those little UI improvements, I think it's not bad.
Do you have any? draft ideas on where a roadmap might lead with this?
Oh, I have a million things. This is a problem that's been in the back of my head for years. So getting to work on it's great. And like I would totally like fix all these little things. I would like add some color. I would probably turn this into like a open source package, and make it so that it like doesn't actually care about what your UI is. It's more back end. There's a lot of things that I would do with this.
And how about like with respect to users, how you might, how that might shape your approach to a roadmap? Like how might you take, could you take this right now and start learning with users, and how might you approach that?
Oh, I mean, I would do like kind of what we talked about before, right? I would probably um, I would map this like one to one feature wise with the like with an actual application for like the fields and functionality. So I would actually map it, actual fields. Probably make this UI a little cleaner and maybe horizontal instead of vertical or something like that. And then I would do the as a product person I would do the user testing, where I have separate sessions with some users, direct one after the other session with some users, and then individual sessions with users that haven't touched the original one with me, and then try to get feedback from folks to say like run them through a use case and say like, look, you're uploading your email list. This is how you're going to do it from whatever system you're exporting from. Um, you know, does this actually help you? What are you thinking about? Asking them all the questions about the various things that they're clicking on, where they're pausing, doing all of that as like a user research step. And then I would probably sit down with, if I have one, my PMM. I'd sit down with my designer, because this has not been touched by somebody who actually knows design. And I would say, okay, how do we make this better? Right? How do we clean this up? How do we make this more user friendly? Because like these could be small cards, this could all be bumped up, this could be made a lot nicer, so that it is a lot more user friendly, especially for a marketing user. And then how would we integrate this into our application? And then I would probably do another round of user testing to just see if we're starting to get the same response from folks in a consistent way.
Cool, that's awesome. Just one more curiosity on my mind. Do you have any thoughts on like what the business model for this could be?
Um, I think that yeah, so if you're looking at like if you have an email tool, you're looking at how can we get as many contacts from other systems into our tool, right? And make it as easy as possible. And so that user experience is great because you like obviously you're well, I don't obviously, but you're trying to get people to use your tool as much as possible, and marketers will talk to each other. And so if you can get them to use your tool, and then talk to each other about how awesome and easy it is, that is a huge win. Um, and then if you can, once you have the data in, you have the emails in, you can start to show them how valuable your tool is. They will keep putting those contacts in, right? And so you definitely want to do that. The As far as going from there, it just depends on what the platform, the product is, and how you would go and expand from there.
Let's start off with a really amazing interview from both you guys. Awesome work. Let's start with Scott. Scott, when you mapped out this problem, what do you think is important that you want to see from candidates?
It's not, well, it has to be like grounded in the reality of real users, real needs, evidence based to the extent it can be. So Matt instantly grounding it in, hey, I worked in Martech. I saw firsthand that this problem really sucks. Let me tell you about it. And then I tried to direct a little more just to say, well, can we double click on that a bit more? Because all marketing teams aren't the same. Like who is this person who would be using this? But he was pretty much right there. You don't want it to be vague. You don't want to be like, oh, it's really hard to do marketing or whatever. You want to be, this is like a very discrete thing. It sucks to merge email lists. It sucks to
Yeah.
do this. Yeah. So you don't
Awesome.
want to be like, oh, everything's painful. I'm going to solve everything. It's just like, no, this discrete thing is where I'm going to start. Yeah, I think I could stop there.
Cool. 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 Did you have gates that you expected the candidate to get through on this problem?
I have kind of notes I've been cheating with, but they were
Yeah.
directing me. Yeah, I was just kind of thinking like if it was just shiny object, which is a very common engineer, it's a problem for everyone. Like, oh, it'd be really cool if we could do this because it's really cool. Yeah, that does sound cool, but does anyone want it? Like, that's a checkpoint. The reality of it, like, does he seem like he's, I don't know if I can swear on this episode or whatever. Does he seem like
Let's
he's
say no. Let's say no. Yeah.
does he seem like he's full of crap? Um,
Yes.
is he just saying like, does he seem like he's just making stuff up? That would be a thing. So trying to probe and be a reality check, which is kind of the foundations of product interviews in general. Everyone can talk about stuff. Everyone can be creative and just be like, oh, I've done things like this. So you just want to probe and be like, do you really know what you're talking about? Do you really know what you're talking
Mm.
about?
What
Okay, it feels like you know what you're talking
at what point did you say to yourself, this guy knows what he's talking about?
about.
Yeah,
As it really, well, there's
everybody
multiple
can go and
layers.
pull this book off their shelf, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Empowered, or I've got 3 or 4 other books up here that you can just pull off your shelf. Inspired, Sacred, 7, Trust and Inspire. Like, you can regurgitate stuff out of a book. That's
Yep.
easy. Whether or not you can actually apply it, that's the difference.
Did you have a moment, Scott? Think of the moment where you said to yourself, wow, this person knows what they're talking about.
There's multiple layers to it. So if we say like the problem space, he kind of put his MarTech credentials on the table. I've worked in MarTech, so I was like, all right, you can make the claim. But then he started demonstrating like, no, I've got like fluency in this. He starts saying, I know the ecosystems, like CRM to Zapier to what. I'm like, all right, that's credibility. And then watching him. But then the other layer is kind of the vibe coding itself. So as I said, like watching him first go, well, even his workflow, just like, hey, I'm going to start in ChatGPT because that's where I like to do requirements. It's like, well, my go-to is Claude. I'm very personal with Claude. We're best friends, but I get it. So it's cool to see your workflow and then to go to Bolt and say, all right, I'm going to start defining this. Hey, I almost swore again. Hey, crap, it's not doing what I wanted. To then have the resilience and the experience to say, you know what, I'm going to go into Cursor. I'm going to look at, first I'm going to download it and run it locally and be like, yeah, it's not working. All right, now I'm going to go to Cursor. I'm going to look at the repository. I'm going to see exactly what's happening and I'm going to like troubleshoot this. Like he just kept unfurling like, yo, I'm pretty sophisticated at this. I've been doing this a lot.
Yeah. Can you say a little bit more about the resilience? A lot of these interviews involving AI nowadays, I imagine candidates get very finicky. It doesn't go wrong. It's not responding. Someone's watching over my shoulder. I feel like Matt encountered about 10 roadblocks and was resilient the whole time. Can you just say a little bit about how with these new tools, it can be very easy to just get flustered?
Yeah.
Can you say a little bit about?
It's kind of the interviews in general. Like someone asks a question, you're like, well, I wasn't expecting that. Or they kind of poke you a little bit. They might, I kind of conceptualize things as like boxing. Like someone tries to punch you in the face and be like, how are you going to react to that? Here, it's like your tools are punching you in the face. So how are you going to react to that? These are non-deterministic. You're not going to get the same thing like he could do the same thing twice and get completely different outcomes. ChatGPT's server was very sad for him. It took 4.5 minutes to even parse what he gave it. That could have been a moment where someone would be like, oh my God, I quit. I can't handle this. Like, yeah, you got to stick through it because this job inherently, I think it's kind of the subtext of product. It's very lonely. It's very entrepreneurial. A lot of people want to just point at you and be like, this happens to me all the time. Like, that's Scott's idea. I don't even know if I believe in that. Scott's going, I get it. He seems competent, but I don't really trust him until I see it. So that's kind of the vibe. People don't believe it until they see it. And if you don't have the experience of managing that pressure and just believing in yourself and just like being in the moment. And like, for me, it's like my spiritual journey of deep breathing and like pranayama and stuff like, after you go through this stuff, it's the same with like public speaking. We're musicians, whatever. The first time you're on stage, you're so self-conscious of like, oh my God, this feels terrible. Then you just keep doing it. It's the same deal. So I would argue just keep, as clearly Matt has, keep practicing, keep trying. Be like, oh crap, as he said, like a normal person would have hit that wall, spent 8 hours being like, why won't this drop zone work? But he's like, no, I already know how to troubleshoot. Let me go to routine number 2. Let me go to routine number 3. So it's just that building up the familiarity to navigate, because it's always going to be ambiguity. It's always going to be chaotic. It's always going to be things not behaving like you want.
What would be your hiring decision and why? And maybe say something about leveling. Yeah.
Well, this is for a product role? Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess he was saying, I guess part of it could be the ownership of it. Like I would talk to a PM about this. I guess if you were explicitly in the mindset of this is a product role, it'd be like, well, I'm the PM. I'm gonna make a decision here. This is what I would do. So that struck me, but I know it's like we're in a weird context here. But that would be
Hmm.
one where I'd be like, well, maybe you're not like the most senior for this. Maybe you do need people to kind of bounce ideas. That's a weird way to say it. We do need to bounce ideas, but more like I want to own this. I want to be autonomous versus I'm not sure what I want to do here. I'd want to work with someone else who kind of owns this with me. But with respect to like the leading edge of vibe coding, the state of the art, the podcasts I've been watching, I think Matt's right there.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. So just like overall, just hiring for a role at a company, maybe it's product, maybe it's engineering, maybe it's something that in that, like what would be your, strong hire, no hire,
Yeah, yeah,
strong
like
no
kind of
hire.
kind of where we're at right now. The zeitgeist is, I think we said at the top of the call, we know vibe coding's happening. We know like the top tier, the Google, Netflix, maybe there's a few more name brands are starting to bust it out, but it's not pervasive. And it seems the zeitgeist is people are saying we need AI. Companies are saying we need AI here. We need people who
Right.
know this, but no one knows it. So they're looking for leaders who can come in and say, I know how to do this. And someone like Matt just clearly demonstrated I know how to do this. So they're looking for people where sorry to have people looking over your shoulder again, but they're looking for people to come in and like teach them what is the art of the possible now, because
Yeah.
everyone's handcuffed by what we've been doing and they can't even see what they don't know. So it's kind of like open up your eyes, have someone like Matt come in, prove themselves in an interview like this, and then say, oh, you've got all these things where it doesn't have to be 3 months of PRDs and debates. It's like 10 mints, or as we saw here with
Boom.
ChatGPT, maybe 45 minutes, and you got a thing and you can all react to it.
Incredible. Yeah, incredible. I want to redirect a few questions to Matt here. I thought this was an absolute masterclass on vibe coding. You made this really interesting comment earlier when you were like, this is the thing about using tools. You're at the mercy of using the tools. What is your mindset having someone watching over your shoulder and knowing that in an interview?
Yeah. So I think one thing was when I'm in an interview, I am always looking for how the other person's reacting.
Hmm.
And so one thing that I appreciated about Scott was
Hmm.
he was being as patient with me as I was trying to be with the tools,
Hmm.
because it's really easy, especially when you're on a time crunch, when you're trying to interview 100 people for a role, especially right
Hmm.
now when you're getting thousands of applicants,
Right.
to be really impatient and be like, come on, get it together, right? And the fact that, like, Scott, you were watching over my shoulder, you saw ChatGPT was just sitting there being a dog, right?
Hmm.
And like it's super easy to be like, come on, Matt, what's going on? But like at the
Hmm.
same time, that wasn't me. Like, we're on a video chat. You saw that like my video's working, so it's on my internet. And so just like that, there was appreciation for the fact that like you weren't like egging me on to keep going and like, figure it out.
Just to jump in, I suspect in these interview cycles, you will have a bulldog who's going to like, just as we were saying, they're going to try to knock you off. Be like, what's the problem, man? You don't know how to use it? Like, what's going on? I'm sure there are going to be people out there who like
Yep.
poke you, see if they can knock you off your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And you
But
know what?
I was thinking that too. I was thinking, man, I could really derail him right now. I could be like, what's the problem, dude? Like,
Hmm.
And I can
Hmm.
handle those situations, right? But that's a
Hmm.
big flag for me. And
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
that's a situation where I'm going to be like, I work with this person, because if they're going to do this during the interview, what are they going to be like working with them every day?
yep.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. I think almost, what do you guys think about this idea? The tools are gonna punch you in the face. So as a shortcut, be ready to talk shop in the downtime. I don't know if you
Yeah.
guys noticed, but when the tools were messing up, you guys were like, hey, let me just get curious. What's your favorite LLM of choice? Oh
Yeah.
gosh, yeah, sometimes Claude does this. Is that a decent tip for people?
Oh yeah. Oh
Yep.
yeah. You have to be able to distract. And
Yeah.
that comes from doing the product job a lot,
Mm,
because you're going to have situations where you're in a room with people and
mm,
somebody's going to lose their mind, right? And
yep.
you're going to have to distract from the executive or the person in the room who's having a moment, or from the demo that's not going well. You're going to
Mhm.
be on stage giving a presentation at a conference and something's not going to be working. You're going to have to vamp, right? And you have to be able to, right there, pick that up and handle it. I mean, that's part of being a product person. That's part of handling those situations.
Awesome. Two more questions and then we're done. Awesome stuff. I just think there's a lot of misinformation out there about newbies getting cooked by LLMs. And you said something really cool earlier. And I wonder if you could just expand on this, where it's like you can use these tools the way that you are using them to see, okay, first you do this, then you do this, and then you do this. But what's your take, Matt, on newbies that are new to vibe coding and your kind of best practices for them so they can avoid what people are saying, where it's like, if you don't know how to code, don't even start. You're going to be paying somebody 10 times more in the long run to go and fix your vibe coded stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So the thing that I have done that opened the door, let me say that. The thing that opened the door for me with all of the agents is the agents have no judgment and you can ask them any question. And so when you're sitting there trying to figure something out, just ask the agent, because it will, like, half the time it responds, man, you're the smartest person in the world for asking that question. Here's how you do it, right?
Yeah.
And then you get this like nice little ego bump for like learning how to do something. And then it's like, yeah, of course you can do that. And then it's like, here, let me help you. And like we were talking about Redis earlier, right? I wanted to do this thing that required caching or like quick lookups. And it was like, oh, cool, I'll just add this in your Docker compose file and we'll add this whole server thing that you've never touched before. And now we can do this whole new feature set. And it just did it. And then I went and figured out how it did it. And now I know how to do that. Right.
It was your first prompt to ChatGPT. You said, did you have any other questions for me based on this? And I thought that would be a best practice for newbies. Really smart.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah,
And
I've heard
this.
that. Sorry to cut you off and jump in. I've heard that from many who are kind of been doing this for a long time, is like, don't just start building, get clarity, ask it like, what am I missing? And I do that. I try to do that in general with whatever it is, irrespective of vibe coding. Just like, here's my take on what I'm doing. Did I miss anything? Like, can you do some research? Do you see any gaps here?
The other thing I'll add too is a lot of the time I will give it a prompt and it will give me a result. And then a lot of times what I'll do is I'll say, okay, I gave you that prompt, you gave me this result. What prompt could I have given you to get a better result?
That's so smart.
Right. And like the other day I was working on a project where I was like, okay, we got this thing. How could we have done that more efficiently? And it was like, oh, well, if we did it this way. And I was like, cool, rewrite the prompt to do it that way. And it did. And then I was like, okay, now how do we design the system so that it's even more efficient? And I was like, okay, let's do that. And so then I ended up rebuilding the whole thing to do it more efficiently, cut out like 20,000 tokens per request and 2 minutes of processing, right?
Amazing.
And it was just because I asked the question.
Yeah.
And it works.
Guys, last thing here about Whisper AI. I just saw this post earlier today from the Pragmatic Engineer, and he was saying that, can you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
I didn't believe it till I saw it. All right, let me go again. I didn't believe it till I saw it, but it really works. You can hear devs whispering. So here's an engineer using Whisper, and what they found is that based on their data of 20K users, developers who use it do 18% whispering versus typing in month 1, and then 72% whispering versus 28% typing in month 5, and it grows almost linearly until that point. Can you just tell us what you think of this new tool and how you see its your thoughts on this new tool, how it helps you?
I mean, I use it for, like I said, for a lot of the like stream of consciousness stuff where I'm just like, I need to get this idea out of my face, out of my head into the computer. And I just don't have the I just can't sit there and wait to type it. It's not going to be fast enough, and I need to just get it out. And so I'll just hold the button down and just, verbally just give everything I can, and then let the AI just sit there and parse through everything. That for me is great. And I do know that like when I open up Whisper, it has all of these other things that it can do, and I haven't even dug into that because I have so many tools to dig into.
Nice.
It has hooks for cursor. It has hooks for all of these other things that it can do, and I haven't even dug into that. So I know that this totally makes sense to me.
Awesome. Yeah. Apparently it takes the meaning of what you said, not exactly the transcript, which is next level. Thank you for watching this masterclass on vibe coding. See you next time.